It was a struggle. We had spreadsheets all over the place. Prior to CloudOlive, we were missing a lot of things that we didn't realise we weren't billing for. Everything was in my head.
I guess for the audience, just tell us a little bit about your business, your role within it, and we'll just start there.
Yeah, cool. So I'm the Managing Director of SuperiorIT Technologies. We're Western Sydney based, so towards Penrith Way. We've been around for 18 years. We're a team of now 9. Our sort of primary focus is around managed service or managed security services.
And one of the things I thought it'd be great to have you come along and have a chat was we've obviously known each other for a while now, but you've been working with CloudOlive a little over 12 months, maybe something like that. And you got a very specific goal that you were looking to achieve when we initially began speaking. And I wonder if you can just speak to the way in which you unbill things, and then where CloudOlive came into the equation and your strategy moving forward.
Yep, I suppose. So we're in a data shop, so we use Autotask as our PSA. Autotask does all of our contract billing, so all of our licensing, managed services, pretty much everything runs through CloudOlive, actually also including voice services, data, all those components. And it was a struggle. We had spreadsheets all over the place. Prior to CloudOlive, we were missing a lot of things that we didn't realise we weren't billing for. Everything was in my head. Like, I'm the managing director. I do have a finance team as well that sort of works alongside of me, but they don't understand the nuts and bolts of an MSP, right? And it's kind of hard to even educate whether it's a sales coordinator within our business or a solutions engineer or even just a general engineer. Like, there's a bit of business acumen that's required when it comes to billing and setting up contracts and how that works. So a lot of it prior to CloudOlive was just in my head and hoping we were doing the right thing.
Looking back now, what were some of the gaps that you found that you were leaking revenue or not capturing? When you sort of unpack and go, why did that happen? What would you put your finger on it as?
A couple of the ones were just third-party tool breakdown. So we were using third-party tools at the time, and you wouldn't realise the sync would be broken, or it just wouldn't tell you. It just wouldn't update and do pro-ratering, for example, correctly. Other things too, I suppose, were we didn't always have the right processes in place. So we have a good workflow when it comes from sales and opportunity management right through to service delivery. But there's still a lot of human elements there, right? So you're trusting that the person is following that process that you've created and they haven't missed a step, because sometimes we can't rely always on automation. So I think humans as well, it's kind of like even cybersecurity, right? There's always a human element that is the risk. And that's kind of where we were at that point too.
Yeah, got it. And we obviously see this day in and day out. It's crucial to have a source of truth, I should say, coming from the invoice, because that's the amount of money that's going to leave your bank at the end of the day. There's no ifs, no buts. And what are some of the main vendors and distributors that you're working with?
So we do a lot of work with Pax8. We also work with direct vendors like, say, for example, LastPass. We have a lot of, as I mentioned, we do Autotask, so Kaseya Shop. We've got a few Kaseya tools. We use Sophos. We work through a couple of other vendors. So, for example, Hosted Network. We have quite a few services with them, all different types of categories of services. So we do have a lot of kind of data feeding in, or invoices coming in, reconciliations. Another one that's come to mind is Barracuda as well.
Yeah, of course.
There's all different kinds of inputs coming in.
And just switching gears slightly, your Autotask setup, aligning it to how you invoice your customers, I wouldn't say so much it's unique, but it's very well structured. It's very purpose-driven in terms of what you were looking to achieve in doing that setup. So you got some line items that are bundled into something else. You've got some line items that go one-to-one, and just simply if it's $10, you sell it for 15 or whatever it is. What does it look like for your customer? Like, when you're talking to your customers themselves, who gets something that's all in? Who gets something that's one-to-one? What does that look like?
I suppose the way how we sell to our clients is that we sell a solution, so package. I kind of find that having line items on an invoice adds to the complexity of them understanding, like what kind of, if we look at our, say, managed security services, we sell an entire solution. No customer is exactly the same. They might have the same tools, but pricing is different. They might have multiple sites, contractors, all those bits and pieces. So under the hood, when we look at a service contract in Autotask, If we're talking about this, the managed security services, it's one item that goes to the client, shows on the invoice. We list out the objectives of that service package. And then under the hood, it's got all the components that make up that solution. This is where, with your help, when we first started working with you, was like we had our service list or price list, call it, in a shambles. We just had like cloud server, Sophos license. It was really all over the place. There was no structure to it. So I suppose working with you, being able to pull that right back and have the foundation right. And I truly believe that having that foundation right not only streamlined our sales, right? Because now I've got a valid price list that there's no 2 or 3 of one thing.
Yep.
It's consistent. But then also when it comes to the reconciliation component, it's just super easy to sort of match.
Can you expand on that foundation piece yourself, what you're referring to there?
So basically we didn't really have any, call it SKU format or proper descriptions for our products or services, that we were selling. I suppose it was just the formatting. The formatting was incorrect.
Yeah.
Like say, for example, was with our NCE licensing. So like having one SKU, we would previously have small business premium.
Yep.
And then what you highlighted to me from a reconciliation point of view was, well, we really should have 2 different SKUs where it's annual commitment,
Yep.
monthly billing, annual billing, annual commitment. So like breaking it down like that also help with the reconciliation piece because your bill that comes in is
Correct.
billed like that
Yep.
as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's so close to our heart, I would imagine, this specific conversation. And again, watching your PSA setup and working with you on a monthly basis with the reconciliation, it's so structured now. It's so simple. And the natural benefit, of course, is other people within your team know exactly, it's a blue service, it's a blue service.
Yep.
Much
Yep.
much
And going
simpler.
through that process as well, like we highlighted, I don't know, I think it was maybe 20, 30 grand a year we were losing on not having the rights. Sure, the services we're getting billed to contracts, but overhauling everything, having a standardized approach from a catalogue.
Yep.
And then going through and making sure everything was mapped properly. It was like, well, there was a few things there we were losing a lot of money on, which was scary.
Even a simple thing like the monthly versus annual 20% delta these days, but it's roughly the same name.
Yep.
Very common challenge.
Yep.
Super common. And one of the like if you're down by, what is it? If you're making 15, 16 points on a Microsoft license, you miss a month or forget to unbill it, that thing's wiped out for 6 months margin.
Yep.
You're behind
Yep.
completely. Yeah, that's why we'll talk about it after. But the new NCEasy that we've just released will materially help an entire admin and finance and sales team as well in capturing that data. When you think about the time that we've been working with each other, how would you describe the CloudOlive value proposition?
Peace of mind is super important to me because, again, I didn't know at the time, if we're just focusing on the dollar amount, how much money we were losing. It also did free up my time as well, like fast forward to today.
Yep.
It's given me peace of mind. I can get this thing smashed out and reconciled in an hour, sometimes less if there hasn't been a lot of changes. And your expertise as well, like your team is fantastic. You guys also help with reconciliations. So like in the beginning, I thought, oh, wow, it was so daunting trying to implement CloudOlive because I'm like, not only did we just rip apart our entire service catalog and introduce a bunch of new SKUs, but then I'm thinking, how am I going to work through importing all these supplier reconciliations? And then I was trying to fumble my way through it, and all I had to do was just ask a question, and you were like, no worries, Paul, this is the process, and this is how it works, and we can save you time.
Yep.
And then it saved even more time as well. So like, I suppose that two-way street of being able to collaborate together has been fantastic, working with CloudOlive.
Yeah, cool. It's super important to us. And we just want to be seen as a big magical box that data gets thrown over the fence to, and then miraculously something happens, and now you're making more money.
Yeah, yeah.
That whole stuff that's happening in between, it is what it is, right? There's, if people had any questions or queries, how would they follow you guys or follow your journey?
Yeah, no, welcome to hit me up on LinkedIn. You can send me a message. I'm always open to have any kind of discussions. Nothing is off limits. Happy to share what I've learned. And I could even learn something new, right?
For sure.
Along the way as well.
For sure. Well, Paul, appreciate you coming in. Always a pleasure.
Brilliant. No, thanks for having me.